Is there any check on Secretary Kennedy at this point? Is there a need to get a CDC director in place quickly?
Yeah, well, the CDC director had a confirmation hearing this week, and hopefully she'll be in place soon. I think she's quite strong and a good pick for that job. The board, this ACIP board, isn't fully constituted. There's only 7 members on the board. At its peak membership, it has about 15. And you're right, a lot of the people who've been appointed don't have deep experience or any experience, quite frankly, in vaccine science. They are people who've been ideologically aligned with Secretary Kennedy in the past and worked with him, many of them, not all of them. And I think that that isn't something that even the secretary would probably dispute at this time. And it did lead to some awkward moments at that meeting. For example, one member had to have explained to him the difference between an antibody prophylaxis and a vaccine. So there were evidence in that discussion where the CDC directors had to provide some, quite frankly, remedial assistance to help brief these members on the basis of vaccine science. So it did show, hopefully once they fully constitute that board, you're going to get more balance on it. I think some people are skeptical. I remain hopeful that there'll be some good members that get seated eventually.
One of the things about the American health system is that question of continued innovation. Earlier this month, the FDA approved a twice-yearly injection of an HIV prevention drug called lenacapavir. How significant is an innovation like that? And given the environment you're talking about, will these new advisors get in the way of being able to get those kind of things to market?
Yeah, this shouldn't come before ACIP. So this is a therapeutic. It's a long-acting antiviral that provides 6 months of protection against HIV and was extremely effective at preventing HIV infection in a population that was high risk of contracting HIV. So it's a change in the formulation of an antiviral that allows it to be administered just twice a year and provide sustained exposure to the benefits of that antiviral. We're seeing a lot of innovation like this. There was also news this week from a small biotech company that I don't have any involvement with, that they had developed a pill that could provide sustained protection against flu. So it's an antiviral, but it is formulated in a way where it could be administered once ahead of flu season to provide protection across the entire season and also look to be very effective. So we're seeing a lot of innovations like this. What I'm worried about is innovation in vaccine science. I work on the venture capital side where we make investments in new companies, and there has been a pullback of biotech startups that have been looking to develop new vaccines, for example, vaccines for Epstein-Barr virus, which we know is linked to certain B-cell lymphomas and maybe is linked to multiple sclerosis. That's a new area of science, the potential to vaccinate children against that, much like we vaccinate kids against HPV right now and prevent cervical cancer and other types of cancers. Maybe in the future we may be vaccinating for EBV, but there's been a lot of pullback to that kind of investment. So I think we're going to see less innovation in vaccine science as a result of the environment we're in.
Quickly, Secretary Kennedy was asked this week about the declarations in some states to start removing fluoride from water. Oklahoma made some moves that direction. He said you're going to see probably slightly more cavities, but there's a direct inverse correlation between the amount of fluoride in your water and your loss of IQ. What should parents be thinking about when they hear things like that?
Well, look, this has been a long-standing issue. Another issue that Secretary Kennedy has championed over his career, this perceived perception that there's a link between fluoride in water and some neurotoxic effects of that. That's been studied thoroughly. It's been, I think, fully debunked. There's very small amounts of fluoride in water, and at the levels that it's put into the water supply, it's been demonstrated to be safe. CDC has data showing that there's a 25% reduction in dental caries as a result of fluoride that's added routinely to the water supply. It's not just a question of increased dental cavities, but also oral health more generally, which we know is correlated to systemic health.
Dr. Gottlieb, good to get your insight today. We'll be right back.